The Fantasticks is it's a fairly straightforward play about what it's about, but I think there's a lot of other meaning to it as well. It's a pretty simple boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl back at the end sort of story, but it's got other layers in it as well. The two parents in the show arrange for their children to fall in love by pretending to keep them apart, but once the children discover that their marriage was sort of a setup from their parents, they get disgusted and break up.
The boy has to go through a bunch of life experiences for him to understand that he really loves Louisa, which is my daughter, and it's just a really cute little love story.
I'm sorry, Matt.
No, it's okay. I deserve it.
They started rehearsing this show while we were building the set for fifth form drama. And so we were building that. They were rehearsing the Fantasticks on the set that we were building, and we were trying to give them, the Fantasticks, some of the elements of their set. And then the week after fifth form drama happened, we had the first form musical. So another set's getting built while they're rehearsing on the set. So time here really did impact us that way.
The first few rehearsals where no one was sure exactly what they were doing or how to do it. Right now we're starting to get into that stage where things are starting to really gel and come together. It's not perfect, it's not ready for opening night, but there are certain moments in the show that are just beautiful right now, 2 weeks before we open. And I know the rest of the show will get to that point by the time that we open, but it's really coming along. I knew that I had a group that would click as a group and connect as a cast and bond in a way that I had never experienced before as a director. It's really a magical group.
Like the music was written like pretty low because it's for men, so we just basically took it an octave up, which is challenging sometimes because some of the parts are pretty high. Until I said you mustn't swim, been swimming ever since.
I tend to get very frustrated under pressure, but I just try to work out every kink. I try to take everything slowly, and then whatever problem I'm having, I know to face that problem first, and then just take a little bit of time.
Stress!
So finding male leads in a musical is always a challenge. There's always a few very dedicated, very talented guys that'll be there, but there are always 10 times as many girls.
We'll find 4 limbs of a tree will build, 4 walls and a floor will line.
I think the hardest part of rehearsals is getting focused and getting everyone on the right track, like the most diligent and the most diligent like mindset to get the most done. Just because I mean, 2 hours a day, I mean, it seems like a lot of time, but there's a lot of time where we're taking notes or we're standing around waiting for something.
I thought that originally maturity would be the major factor, but it really is ends up being experience.
So where is this? What's the line?
Yeah, you.
Water, water, water. Click, click. What? I said water, water, water. Click, click, click. What?
Now in this show is that as the group bonds together as a group, they start to realize that their work impacts others in a way that they probably haven't experienced before unless they've done a lot of plays. So that when someone is late or doesn't know their lines, it's not just them, it's everyone that it affects. And there seems to always be a turning point in every play that I've ever directed where the light bulb suddenly goes on over the cast's head, where they realize that if they're late or if they don't know their lines or if they're not being supportive of their other actors, there's no grade deduction, there's no detention, there's no phone call home. It just doesn't mean we have a good show if they do that. And they start to care about the show and they start to take ownership of the show and realize that it's up to them to do it. And at that point, and sometimes it happens to everyone at the same time, sometimes it happens to people individually, but at that point, that's when the show really starts to come together.
Rehearsals we're pretty rough at first. We have a wide variety of students with different experiences and theater experiences, so we all kind of helped each other out.
Through the course of this play, I had to learn how to sing. because I had never sang in public before, except in, in the shower, and maybe the neighbors can hear me, but it's completely different. So I took some voice lessons with Miss Patterson. She's really, really great. Basically, the way she summed it up is I had to learn several years of voice in maybe 2 months. And of course, I'd learned a little bit of dance, waltz and stuff from Miss Gorman.
It's fast, that's why you get. Now, let me ask you something.
It has a lot of difficult music that the kids have to perform, so I've had to tone down the choreography because they can't sing and do difficult choreography. When you're doing a musical, you first of all, you have to know the musical and you have to know the characters involved in the musical.
We started wearing mics last week, and it's important for us to get used to the mics and used to the sound we have to generate. Is she gone? Yes, she's gone.
We have to mic the actors to sing, but they're going to be very close to the front of the stage, so I'm not sure how that's going to work out. I never have any problems with students when we're building sets. They're very excited about doing it. They show up for class right on time, get right to work, so that is never an issue.
And the costumes are such a huge part of getting into character because our costumes are not pretty.
Yeah.
They're frumpy, I guess you could
With
say.
like waist up to here.
Yeah. And so it makes you kind of feel old and, I don't know, kind of
waddly.
Not even waddly.
Yeah.
So it gets you really into that character role.
And our characters are really stiff and kind of like, not middle-aged, but like older middle-aged, and so we kind of like, it helps like us get into the stiff, older role.
Because this play doesn't really have a time period, it's not time period specific, but it's not modern.
I'm so scared.
I wanted to use modern colors with non-modern styles. So the inspiration for the costumes came anywhere from the 1890s to the 1920s and kind of smudged all together so you can't really tell where it's from.
This musical particularly has some very demanding vocal parts. You have to realize that when you deal with a smaller cast, that the roles, the music, everything, the dialogue is that much more important.
Singing in public makes me extremely nervous if I'm not in the zone.
Just before each scene, I definitely take a couple deep breaths and think of the major parts of my scene, and then we go on, and whatever happens, happens, I guess. I had a lot of trouble getting over the fact that I'm 18 and he's 14, but I realized you're just playing the characters, so kissing an 8th grader was interesting.
It was something we approached carefully, and we waited until later in the process to really start practicing that. And in fact, I was actually going to wait till a later rehearsal, and Kyle surprised us and grabbed her and kissed her during one of the rehearsals, and they've been kissing ever since.
Hopefully we'll get the point across that I'm Luis and he's Matt, and we're two characters falling in love.
After every show, it's the same. You work so hard, you work for months, and then it's 3 days and the whole thing's over. So
anticlimactic.
Exactly. It's you want to bond as much as you can while you're working on the show.
Oh, I love vegetables.
I know, I love them too.
It's not silly to.
And then?
Celebration!
Fireworks!
Fiesta!
Laughter!
Our mother's picnic!
We live happily ever after?
There's no reason in the world why kids happen exactly like
St. Mary's Hall needs more theater people. We are lacking in this area, seriously.
Just throw yourself out there. It's so much fun. You meet so many new people. You gain so many like new experiences. Like it's a really awesome opportunity.
2 hours a day, 2 months, It's a lot of work. And it all comes down to these 3 nights. The show really becomes a part of you, and it really becomes important to you. And it's a real experience that you can't really describe unless you're in it.